everyone, from the Jam Yearbook. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jim. We're here to take you on a journey through the years as we explore the music in our lifetime and the impact it's had on us and the world we live in.
Oh my, welcome to version 2014. Jim, you sound like you're not very excited to be here today. What's going on?
I've got Mattitis or a case of the Mats. I don't know what to call it. You've heard some of your intros to the other shows when you're not excited to talk about the year. And I'm not super excited about what this year has to offer.
Oh, come on now. I usually find a way to turn it around, except for that one time or two. But yeah, 2014, it was a little bit of a challenge. There was a lack of quantity of music that I, could really attach to. And really, what was there, it doesn't really go very high on my all-time list.
Yeah.
But before we get rolling into that, because it sounds like we're going to have a good little conversation here, let's start with someone really important that we lost.
Basically, I'm going to start right off talking about how this is a shit year and I lose my number one bass hero. That's Jack Bruce. Most people, if you don't know his name, would know him from the band Cream, where he played with Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker. He really was the glue that held that power trio together. And as a former lead singing bass player, I played more grooves than just pedaling. And Jack Bruce was the kind of guy that you looked for slick moves as a lead singing player. He was actually born in Bishop Biggs, Scotland. I didn't know that until this week. It's an area located just outside of Glasgow. He met Ginger Baker in a band in the early 60s, and then he played alongside Clapton and John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. That band didn't last for very long, so he quickly assembled Cream with Clapton and Baker. And they only played together for a few years, but they produced music that's considered legendary to the classic rock catalog. He had several solo albums through the remainder of his career, but he never matched that success he had with Cream. He is still considered one of the most influential bass players of all time and was originally listed when Rolling Stone did a top 10 greatest as number 8. But I looked up their most recent list and he's actually moved up to number 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing that he's done that. He died November 5th, 2014 in London of liver disease at the age of 71. I encourage all young bass players to go check him out, to watch him, watch his videos, watch him play. You'll be amazed.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. All right. So that's the only big death I think we really had in our lives from that year. Let's go to the music. Matt, here we go. Get your shovel out.
Well, we just buried Jack Bruce, so of course the shovels are already out. So.
No kidding. But I'm going to talk about 2014 because I had to do my deepest dive for any episode yet to come up with music I was excited to share. Every corner I turned, I was either running into the same run-of-the-mill pop shit or really bland music that was trying to pawn itself off within the rock genre. I've gone through everything, I think, trying to find the diamond in the rough. Fuck, man. The Pitchfork recommended albums, that was tough. I'm not really an indie atmospheric guy. I kind of want lyrics that move me and music that makes me want to move or something just fun.
Stop paying attention to Pitchfork.
Yeah.
That those lists are pretty pretentious there. I'm not really quite sure where their motivation is because I've been looking at some of their lists lately and I rarely agree with them. There's a few spots like, oh yeah, I do like that album, but I'll listen to like their top one and I'm like, no, yeah. there's much better out there. Yeah. But yeah, if it's a sound thing, I can see how you're going to stop paying attention to the lyrics, if you just can't get sucked into the sound. So, unfortunately, you won't get the message that's in the song.
Yeah. To me, sounds great doesn't always equal great songwriting.
No, it doesn't.
The first band I'll talk about right away, I thought I'd give War on Drugs a try. And I actually anticipated finding something there that I'd missed. I have friends that listen to them, my hipster friends from Vermont. Nope. It's got that hipster, I'm so cool, I can be boring sound that's permeated a lot in 2014.
I don't think they're intentionally trying to be boring or pretentious, but yeah, it's mellow, it's moody. Boring, that's subjective. But I understand that this isn't the kind of music that you typically turn to music for, or it's just not hitting you at a right time in your life to, kind of be open to the sounds that are going on. I think if War on Drugs had a different production, you would probably like it. Because I understand there is that echoey, it's very dreamy sounding, and there's the space is getting eaten up.
Yeah.
There's a lack of definition there. So
Yep.
I really do understand that. Under the Pressure, that's a really good song. It to me, especially, even in the very beginning when you start getting those rim shots, it really is reminiscent of Boys of Summer. So I think that's kind of how I got hooked into it. And there's a few more good songs on the album, but yeah, the album as a whole, it doesn't really take you on that roller coaster ride of,
No.
of peaks and valleys. So yeah, I get that you kind of have to pick and choose songs in here. But yeah, the melodies, they get buried under the echo. And if that whole album's going to sound like that, I understand how people are going to have that opinion. But I think it's more that it's not in your face. The melody is
Mhm.
why, nothing's really, there's not a big competition between everything going on.
That's spot on. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I remember in version 2019, I was going to have Hot Motion by Temples on one of my five because I really love that song. But after a few listens, the echo was just so fatiguing to my ears. It started to make my ears like reject the song. So I 100% get where you're coming from.
Uh-huh.
Indie, though, I look at it as offering an honest alternative to what's going on in popular music. And
Okay.
every alt rock band sounded like Newfound Glory, or bands like Foo Fighters releasing the same album over and over and over.
Yeah.
You're not going to find guitar heroes. And if you're looking for music to be above a certain beat per minute, you're going to be challenged. And I
Mhm.
hate to say this because it will come off as being pretentious, like Pitchfork, right? But I think what goes on with indie, whether it's a lack of skill, you're not going to get burning guitar solos or whatever there, but I think what goes on in indie bands is more about in service of the song. It's not, no one thing is getting that spotlight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in thinking about this and your reaction, I'll ask you something, and I hope you don't mind me going there, but I bring it up because you have broached this topic before. Do
Mhm.
you think that your religious upbringing has anything to do with you wanting upbeat music and maybe something that doesn't sound repressive?
No, that's an interesting question. It's fine to ask that. I think it has more to do with my annoying, optimistic personality. Some of the songs I've added to the playlist are moody as fuck. I think when it comes to most music, though, it serves a need like food to my soul. If I'm not
Mhm.
living during a period of my life where I don't need it, I'm not going to give it the proper attention. I like stuff across all genres and all styles, but it has to hit me at the right time if I'm going to become attached to it.
Yes.
In 2014, I just gotten my first job as a retail store manager, something 2011 Jim never saw himself achieving. I was in constant celebration mode, making good money. I'd moved to the beautiful seaside town of Brodie Ferry, Scotland. I took my store from the bottom five in the region of 25 stores to a consistent top five performer. And I did this with all the same staff that I was given when I walked in the door and took the job. After a lot of hit and misses in life, I was really finding success for the first time. I didn't need to reflect on sour times. So I think that's one of the reasons why this music didn't speak to me. I wanted music that was driving me to be better at what I was doing and better at what I did each day. So in 2014, I was probably digging back more in the music catalog than into what was going on in the present.
Yeah. So yeah, I get it. It just didn't fit your needs at the time. We've brought that up, many times. And that, because that's the same with me, with bands
Mm-hmm.
like The Cure,
Mm-hmm.
right? That didn't fit a need for me at the right time. And I don't want to sound like you don't do this because I think everybody does. When you're down, it's important to have those songs that speak to your state of mind because I think you do need to kind of not wallow, but you got to process that and then find something to dig yourself out. And sometimes it's not about words. The tone, the sound, the mood of a song can grab me just as intensely as the lyrics.
Yep.
And when I was finding these indie bands, honestly, 2014, it wasn't a big year for me to do that. It was maybe 12 years, 10 years, 8 years prior to this. And some of those bands are still around, but not putting out an album in 2014. And most of my music listening was at night. I'm talking, 11 o'clock after midnight in the early 2000s. I'm a fairly new parent and I'm kind of grasping my new situation and trying to understand these new thoughts of, oh, don't be
Mm-hmm.
a screw up. You gotta try to balance your family time and your me time so that you don't have a meltdown. And if you're trying to find fun outside of pop or country, good luck. I'll agree with you. that by 2014, indie is getting hijacked by that atmospheric and acoustic music. But it's not all like that. Tokyo Police Club,
Mhm.
Johnny Marr from the Smiths, he's
Yeah,
got
he's
some
great.
solo stuff out there that's, it's not like the Smiths. It's,
No, it's great. Yeah.
it's really great. Weaves, they got some upbeat stuff. Architecture in Helsinki, that's great pop music. And give me Ingrid Michaelson over any of the women dominating the pop charts any day. The real problem is there's too much music. It's so
Yeah.
hard to find that needle in the haystack. And you are doing what I can get stuck doing, which is only finding what I don't like, because you found the war on drugs. And now all of a
Yeah.
sudden everything is kind of getting that treatment. It's like, oh, fuck this. But I get that because I can do that too.
I'll go back to what you said earlier, the point you made about it being recorded differently. And that could be my issue with a lot of it. But it's common for artists to want to work with successful producers. I'm sure it wouldn't be unlike the people who want to work with Rick Rubin or Bob Rock. Hell, even Maroon 5 made an album with Mutt Lang.
Yeah. But is that the alternative though? It's that world of Max Martin, Rick Rubin, and Mutt Lang. It's it seems like that we're seeing the consequence of that world. It's getting to a point where anything that sounds different is unwelcome and not giving a chance
Mhm.
because it doesn't have that polished sound of the latest pop banger. I mean, I don't like to lump Lang and Rubin in with the Max Martin Mafia because I think when people work with Lang and Rubin, there's not 12 producers.
A good point.
So I've already performed this exercise a few versions ago, but maybe I need to do it again just to make a point.
Okay.
So I'll do another comparison. The Kooks, great goddamn band, right? They put
Mhm.
out 6 albums since 2006. Okay, it's not a lot, but they
No.
tour like hell, and they put in the work.
Yep.
The first 3 albums, one producer, one studio, and the songs are written by band members. After that, they brought in 1 or 2 other producers to work with Luke Pritchard of the
Mhm.
band, but those producers, they worked with the band or just Pritchard to write the songs as well. So it's still a small team. And I think the older a band gets, they're gonna do that because whether there's internal strife in the band or they just want to, experiment with different people.
Yeah.
But so to continue with the comparison, Ariana Grande, every album, there's upwards of 10 studios or in 10 producers per album, and just as many people writing the songs. She's credited in writing, but I think it's more lyrically, especially on her last couple albums.
Mhm.
And so I understand if you're going to work with that many producers, you're going to visit studios. And while, yes, the pristine production, it does have a good sound separation. You can hear everything and all that. But when I look at the whole picture, indie feels authentic to me. And that's my main point. And that's
Okay.
why I do defend indie to a point.
Okay. What you were just saying, though, I'd be interested in looking at the song separately then. Do the producers, for someone like Ariana Grande, work on the entire album, or do they create these songs, build them up cumulatively in numbers, and when you assemble the singles, the artist puts the album together? Or are these producers just trying to get their names on everything to get a piece of the songwriting royalties?
Yeah, those are good questions because maybe I don't I haven't done a good job of splitting that out. But it's easy to look up production credits. Those are facts. Those are kinds of things I feel I can trust Wikipedia for, or just look at the liner notes on an
Mm-hmm.
album of any of these pop albums that I've ranted about before. But yeah, it's like you look at this song, it's got these writers and these producers, and the next song will have similar writers and producers, but there's also different names in there. And then the next song will be a completely different group.
So I'm really talking more pop then than indie. Do you think that in the world of pop music, they're actually intentionally creating albums anymore? Or do you think, like I was saying, they're just recording the singles and then it's like a puzzle piece that they put together?
Kind of right, I think. Maybe they're trying for banger after banger.
Yeah.
It might increase the odds of that happening by having a different group working on each song. Boy, ran it up in Rant Junction again. I'm kind of romanticizing the age-old story of bands holding up in the studio and creating an album. And that's the world where I want my music to come from. But I understand, you're on tour, you're gonna go to this studio and work with these people, make a song because you want to keep churning, you want to keep the machine churning.
I respect this rant, to be honest. I think whenever we say Max Martin anytime during the 2000s,
Yeah.
we're bound to get on a rant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it came down to new ways of listening, streaming, artists recording the song separately as singles, because it's a big deal for an artist to stay relevant. So they'll put out a new single and a new single and a new single before the album finally gets pulled together, after they've got 10 to 12 songs.
Yeah. And I think the big casualty in that is the album. It's hard for me to say because I won't listen to a full album, of Ariana Grande or, whoever. So I can't tell you if it's got that storyline that I want an album to give me, with the peaks and the valleys and the build up and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe with 2014 indie, then I have to seriously say, I don't dislike it as much as bad pop. I just got a little tired of the constant need to push that samey on us. There's no push, in my opinion, for creativity.
Yeah. And you're right. And same. I mean, it's horrible and it's infiltrated every genre, especially if you've been listening to music for as long as we have, right? You know to a degree what's been done, and you can kind of pick out, oh my God, that's the same thing over and over and over. It takes more or sometimes less to make an impact on us. Specifically with indie, though, it's just the sound for you, and I understand that. I can't disagree with you.
Yeah. I talked about it at the start. I'm just going to go back to it. It's that atmospheric indie sound that I heard listening to these songs from 2014 that just didn't speak to me. I want to sit at a mixing board and take some of these atmospheric sounds out. You're right, what you said about the songwriting. That songwriting might be great. I want to remix this.
Yeah. And some of them do need a little bit of cleaning up, just get rid of some of the echo, but there's a place for everything and everyone.
Yeah, there's a place, but it's just a little too much copycat sound for me. I like a lot of the songs you've presented from the indie world. Well, we've been doing this show and kind of the years around this, they have such great, rich harmonies. But a lot of the songs I was hearing in 2014 just have so much reverb and delay on the vocals. It has a loss of natural beauty.
Yeah. And again, copycatting, it's rampant. And I can continue to the pop rant if we want to. I'm not really sure what you mean by bad pop. I don't. Well, I know. I know that's kind of a joke. That is kind of funny, but I guess I just don't know where your line is. And I mentioned how in alt rock, every band sounds like 3 Days Grace. Same guitar tone, voice, songs. And we joked about not being able to tell the difference between Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
Try to find the uniqueness in country. It sounds like the Martin Mafia is one, and you and a lot of other people would prefer music to sound a certain way. And it's hard for me to say that because I do understand 75% agree with your argument on the sound.
Yeah. But for me, the sound that we're getting out of this isn't ever going to be iconic. It's like they're all competing to be loved by the hipster crowd and loved by Pitchfork, but not to be big, successful musicians. They're really trying to play just to a niche.
Yeah, probably. But, not everything has to be iconic. To me, iconic is Zeppelin, Michael Jackson, Madonna, but we can't expect those heights from everyone. And because there's only so much room at the top of Everest, iconic can be a bit subjective too. To me, Joan Jett and Chrissy Hynde, those are icons, but are they on that same level to everyone? No, in icon status takes time.
Yeah, no, you're kind of right. But where are the icons then from this era? Beyonce, Kanye, Ariana Grande. Hey, that rhymes. These icons hanging out in 2014 are self-proclaimed. And when it comes to indie, it has its own icons. You've got U2. They were indie before they became the biggest band in the world. REM, The Cure, all of them started out as indie bands and eventually were known as the biggest bands in the world. The war on drugs, that's not going to happen here. And as for rock, you got kind of the Black Keys. They haven't really gotten there. Jack White has kind of flirted with that iconic status a bit, I think, and he's got a lot of respect, but he's not there. You brought up the Foo Fighters earlier. They might be the last big iconic rock band that's going to exist. Coldplay still packing stadiums in 2014. They're still packing them today. And even though they're sliding a bit beyond the biggest selling albums, what are Coldplay? Are they indie? No. Are they rock?
No.
No, not really. Are they pop rock? Well, maybe, but a
Yeah.
little too creative almost sometimes for that. But they've earned some kind of iconic status, whether you're going to admit that with me or not, even if we don't point out exceptionalism of every single band member.
Yeah, Ariana, just hasn't been around long enough to be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, U2, The Cure, REM, damn right, they are icons. There's no doubt there. Foo Fighters, yeah, they're on their way. We're on drugs, no, but how many bands reach that iconic status? 5%.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree that icon status is being thrown around too freely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Beyonce, Kanye, I don't even feel like we should be even mentioning Kanye.
Ariana Grande. Sorry, I just had to say that because it rhymes.
Yeah, you wanted to get that rhyme there. You can't throw that word at yourself or anoint yourself an icon or have your husband do it for you. Deep down, indie embraces to me what punk was, that DIY approach. And now we are a little programmed for a more Reuben or Martin sound. You know, a lot of indie, it's self-produced. There's cross-pollinating with other bands in the genre. It's a community, like every genre. It's a community. There's plenty of beauty in there, and it's just not for you. But that's the way art is.
There is one band that's a great example of getting it right, in my opinion, in 2014, and that's Catfish and the Bottlemen. And I've got to give a shout out because I was talking to Harry at work about doing this show 2014, and he told me I needed to check out their album. And I'm glad I did. It was a great recommendation. I knew some of the songs off of it, but it was great to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, Catfish and the Bottlemen, they're really good. And I feel like I'm having to defend indie solely based on your experience with War on Drugs. And I am in a little bit of an indefensible position there because, yeah, I understand the sound thing. Because how many times have I come on here and made that argument about not liking stuff because of the sound? And so in that regard, yeah.
80s drums, anyone? 80s
yeah, exactly.
drums?
86. Yeah, it's hard to defend indie in 2014 on a couple fronts. You know, I have to agree with your sound argument to a degree. And many of these bands weren't on my radar. So I'm kind of catching up a little bit this week with 2014. My indie phase was early in the 2000s and I lost touch with it. So I'm digging back through. If you dig in though, it's not all the same, but it has settled into a sound. It's settling into itself. Punk used to be that umbrella. Well, all of a sudden they kick out new wave, and they kick out this and that, and it just becomes, what people expect, which is the Sex Pistols or the Ramones. It's like someone who listens to more rap or metal than us being able to pick out the differences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mentioned some names earlier that aren't in that mold. It's needles in the haystack. But unfortunately, it's a really big haystack when you got a week to kind of parse through it all.
Yeah, I'll give you that in 2014. I guess, I talk about that atmospheric sound, but it was also the soprano high-pitched vocals dominating so much again.
Yeah, this is a common talking point for you as well. I have mine. This is one of yours. But there's never many bands in the spotlight with singers like Creed or the Tea Party. George Ezra stands out a little bit in 2014. God, that guy's got a great voice.
Yeah, when my mother came over here to visit, I played her George Ezra and said, "Mom, you got to hear this. This guy's the next Johnny Cash. He's so unique." I do think he's fallen by the wayside because his music since 2014 has just gotten really beats driven.
Yeah, I didn't really care for his newer album. It seems like they're just trying to pop him up unnecessarily.
Yeah, they're Ed Sheeran him.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. Yeah. And beats, they're giving drums a bad name. I'm glad they call it beats, and just so we don't get the two confused. It's got its time and its place, but sometimes they're just like the ticking of the clock you can't tune out at 3 a.m. to me.
I think a big influence on it is the UK festival scene. Over here, it's all about having something that's just boom, 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 and getting 10,000 people to jump up and down in syncopation. And they think this is a great song and I'm having a great time just because it's got that driving force behind it. Look, with George Ezra, I'm not going to knock him too much. I still think he's talented. but he's one of those artists you really wish didn't get so big. And we talk about some artists you wish stayed kind of small and
Yeah.
keep to yourself, so that he could have stuck more to his authentic roots. But this album in 2014, it's really damn good.
I want to rewind a couple seconds here.
Okay.
Because this something just occurred to me. This isn't, like I said, it's not the first time that you've brought up higher male voices. And it makes me wonder something. Are you looking for voices a little more similar to yours? You have a deeper singing voice than I do. And I'm wondering if maybe that's why I connect with, a higher male voice than you do. Or maybe it's voices you remember from when you were younger, Elvis, Waylon Jennings, or even Eddie Vedder.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think I probably originally was attracted to that baritone vocal. When I was in 6th grade, I went to the local library and took out the Doors' greatest hits on vinyl and brought that home and listened to that thing over and over again and never returned it. I'm sure my late fee is probably would put me, I'd be bankrupted now by it. But it really, one of my very first rock star icons was Jim Morrison, and easy to sing along to as far as a deep voice goes, and my voice. But I did like hair metal, AC/DC, Michael Jackson, Prince. It's that soft whisper vocal that doesn't always do it for me. And hey,
okay,
I'm a huge Beach Boys fan. That's all about this beautiful high vocal and the harmonies that reach up even higher. But a lot of these indie singers don't sound like they're actually projecting when they're singing. They're hitting high notes without really pushing it out from the diaphragm. And when it lacks power, to me, that wispiness feels like it's fake emotion. It's lacking feeling.
Well, you don't really have to project to convey emotion. I mean, Harry Styles, he sings pretty delicately, and I think he gets his emotion across.
He can, but he doesn't choose to make this his dominant style.
No, you're right, but I also think that maybe you've just got it stuck in your head that indie equals pretentiousness. And I think that's the wall that you're up against. And I don't think, similar to me in my thoughts with The Cure, you're just not going to be able to break through that wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's get back to beats. Sorry, I'm jumping around there, but that's how conversations
that's fine.
go.
It makes it interesting.
Yeah. So all drummers, they need to be teleported back to the 60s and learn what drums can do.
Yeah.
Not just drummers, producers. And I get it with the whole festival thing with the boom, 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 and people think they're having fun, but they are having fun because they're having a huge shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can go a long way into making you like the music, genuinely liking the music. Also with drums, that's kind of always bothered me with songwriting credits. Do you think drummers like Moon and Bonham were told what to play? The basics of what the tempo should be, but I'm sure Moon played whatever and however he wanted. I remember having conversations with drummers, and I don't hear those conversations anymore with new music. I should say maybe new popular music. I bet in metal, those conversations still happen.
Yeah.
All the time. So another question, do you prefer beats instead of percussion, or is it maybe, moment based?
I don't think this is anything we could just base off 1 year of conversation of music.
Yeah.
I'm a Bonham fan. I gush over Jimmy Chamberlain. These are drummers that aren't just playing beats, even though they're playing heavy, great beats, but there's a lot of percussion going on and they're playing. It doesn't have to be one or the other, as long as it's going to hold the song together and make me feel something. The Talking Heads use great percussion, but in this era of indie, there's either no 4/4, or if there is, it's all surf drum beats. Boom, boom, boom. The drums hitting really hard. That's what's missing for me.
Okay. Yeah. And the echo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surf, it maybe the guitar tone that they're using when they're recording kind of maybe inspires the drum beats a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care for like shoegaze? Because that can be a pretty big echoey mess. Jesus and Mary Chain, Cocteau Twins, My Bloody Valentine, even the Verve. They're not really shoegaze, but they use echo to a large degree too. Maybe that's where some of the inspiration comes from.
Yeah, maybe. I've seen Cocteau Twins live. I enjoyed them. It's more about the music from the artist, I think. And when it comes to the Verve and Richard Ashcroft, he does layer in a lot of reverb, but he does project as well when he's singing. So I would say, that his vocal could be more comparison to the British sound of Oasis or something like that
Mhm.
than necessarily that kind of indie echo that we're hearing.
Yeah, but does Paul Simon, does he project? Jim Croce? Those guys, they're kind of just sitting there, singing beautifully. I love their voices. I love what they do, because indie can maybe be more in line with the singer-songwriter kind of music. But, I'm just going to have to accept that there are certain things we are on different sides of the street.
Well, I think all these questions you keep asking me on this, you're just kind of throwing me in a one-dimensional box over some objections that I found in 2014. It's just not my year. You're presenting it to me like, Jim, here's your spaghetti, plain, no sauce. And that's
I'll give you some butter. Some butter.
Give me some butter and salt on that. I like sauce. But, we've been friends long enough for you to know that I do have an eclectic taste, and we have variance in our taste. And this definitely is an era that you got something out of. But, you mentioned The Cure earlier, and it took you some time to come around and enjoy kind of exploring that. And I do think if we step away from 2014 and we branch into some of these years around it, even though this year in particular, I haven't enjoyed this music, there are probably going to be songs from bands that are hipster pretentious that I'll enjoy, that I will like. It just is this year that I'm kind of like, this sound is just killing me every time I'm hitting next.
Is it just 2014 though? Because I think if we go back and listen to some of the other versions, you've had some issues with indie all along.
All right. We'll talk about it when we get to one of the other years. And I'm happy I got the shovel out. I'm glad that I didn't just skim the surface and take a lazy approach to it. I didn't just pull back the carpet. I pulled the floorboards up. I dug a little into the earth below, and I came up with music that I still connected to.
Oh yeah, there's always music to be liked. But Jesus, this kind of snowballed in a hurry on us. We forgot we were gonna bring in some help. We've been having guests lately, and today was going to be no different. So I guess we'll do that right now. It seems like a good time to bring in our pop correspondent, the one, the only, Jim Bowen. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Not Max Martin.
No. That would be a hell of a pull.
No, that would be, wouldn't it? The pop correspondent. And I told you when you decided I was going to be the pop correspondent, when we get to the right year, you're going to be the hair metal correspondent.
Sure.
Excellent.
I'll do that every from what, 84 on.
Yeah, somewhere in there. But anyway, let's get on with it. Ariana, yes. Taylor, yes. But this isn't a Max Martin year as much as this for me is a tabloid year when it comes to pop music. And it was fun to read about because there's more drama going on off stage than in the music itself that's there. 2014 is like an episode of As the World Turns or EastEnders for our UK listeners. Now, I don't like to speculate about people or focus on dirt, but you might remember that TMZ released a video of Solange Knowles, sister of Beyonce, beating the shit out of Jay-Z.
That was
you brought up earlier about, does your husband come and proclaim you an icon?
Well, why did he do that?
What does a man have to do to get a beating from his sister-in-law? It wasn't because he finished the milk in the fridge or drank her last Coke. That's for sure. But, also, how does a husband make this all up to his wife? By bringing out their baby in his arms on stage and awarding the Michael Jackson MTV Video Vanguard Lifetime Achievement Award. Husbands, pay attention. This works every time. Trust me. You're fighting with your wife. Just give her a Lifetime Achievement Award on television.
Yes. Even if it's the MTV Video Vanguard Lifetime Achievement.
Yeah. And then you have Ariana. You already hit on Max Martin and a chessboard full of producers to put her album on the top. But Taylor Swift, she had a little bit more going on. Taylor's known for writing with Max Martin and a slew of other producers, just the same as Ariana. And he was part of the writing team on Bad Blood, released in 2014, that was supposedly referencing Katy Perry stealing several of Taylor's backup dancers to start her tour before Taylor's had finished. So Max Martin, who wrote like 7 of Katy Perry's previous #1 songs, helped Taylor write a diss track. The next year, in 2015, Katy responds with Swish Swish from her album that featured Max Martin, but not on this song. And then after them both working with Max Martin during this time period, dun, 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 they don't work with him ever again. If you look at the charts at the time of this show airing, it didn't hurt Taylor's career. As of today, Taylor Swift is the first artist of all time to hold all 10 spots of Billboard #1 Hot 100 singles. Wow. All 10 spots are Taylor Swift's from her new album.
Wow, that's impressive.
And Max Martin did not help her write anything on it.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay. Katy and Taylor, they made up. So, damn you, Max Martin, for holding so much of our attention. And as dour as I've sounded during this whole show, let's get away from the pop correspondent thing because that's just stupid shit. But I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. So shall we move on to our 5?
Let's do it. Let's talk about the good music I found that was buried in the earth underneath the floorboards.
Yeah. You found any skeletons? Let's see.
Yeah.
So you chose 2014. So according to the rules that are written into our bylaws, you have to lead us in. So what do you got for your first song?
The first song I'm going to bring to the show is by a band I hope you respect because I think you would enjoy it. And they do kind of have that indie hipster sound. So I'm just waiting for you to come after me when I say these bands and these names. But it's First Aid Kit. What an amazing band. They're from Sweden. I don't know much of their history. There's part of me when I listen to them, I feel like I'm listening to country music. So I'm not quite sure how that sound got to them in Sweden. They're a little bit like Dixie Chicks, but in my opinion, better. They have tremendous harmonies. If anybody ever said, go find me the female Simon and Garfunkel, I would bring you First Aid Kit. This is almost as close to sonic perfection as you can get. The entire album's great, but this song itself, Master Pretender, it stood out to me. I love the lyrics, believing in something, a love that you know deep down inside isn't going to last forever. But while you're experiencing it, you hold your head high and live in the moment for what it is. And you appreciate the experience along the way. Master Pretender, it's a great song.
It is a great song. I'm not going to chide you for picking an indie band because First Aid Kit's great. That Stay Gold album, there's a lot of gold on that record.
Yeah,
they got these very dreamy harmonies. Great song. I love it.
Cool. That's my first choice. So you have to give us yours now.
My first one is going to be Kells and 1111. This was one of my favorite bands from 2014. This album it's still on my phone. It's never left my phone. I just let it play this week and waited for whatever song I was going to keep hitting repeat on because I'm like, okay, that's going to be the song. I thought it was going to be Leather Jacket. There's your honorable mention there, folks.
Oh, there you go.
But no, it's 11:11, as in the time on the clock, 11:11. Mm-hmm. It's not a Stranger Things song. This song always sounded like it's from a much earlier year to me. It's straightforward pop rock, upbeat song that I think Jim needed to hear this week.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I had to put some commentary on your comment about your favorite band from 2014 and it's never left your phone. I hope you're not still using the same phone since 2004. I've been carrying around this phone that has 128 megabyte of storage.
Yeah. Well, it started out on my iPod and then everything kind of migrated over to my phones as I've continued to upgrade.
Yeah, no, it was a fun song. It was great to listen to. And you're right. This song, you have a couple of songs in your list this week that you definitely put there intentionally because I complained to you about not being enough rock, and this was great.
And not only that, I made you a couple playlists too, a short indie playlist and a short rock playlist because you were just having such a hard time.
And you put First Aid Kit first song on the indie playlist.
I know. You were like, oh shit. It's not all bad.
All right.
All right. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. And the song is Stranger to My Happiness. This album was what I listened to the most. Well, I was even sitting at work, in the office, doing some stuff. I had this on while I was just typing away, getting work done. Some people in this world have captured lightning in a bottle. Most of those people release That Lightning when they reach early adulthood. Sharon Jones released her first album when she was 40 years old. Her music also sounded like it authentically came from a different generation. If Sharon Jones had been around in the late 60s, early 70s, she would have been a superstar. She has that Tina Turner, Stevie Wonder essence about her. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer in 2013. In 2014, she released this album, Give the People What They Want, and it is so damn good. Authentic funk and soul. When she toured the album, she'd suffered hair loss from chemotherapy. She refused to wear wigs. She went out there with her head shaved. She's beautifully talented and a stoic woman. Everyone should stop listening to this podcast right now and go listen to this album. You will not regret it. Once again, I want to make the point that when people say they don't make music like they used to, Sharon Jones did that. And this fits right in with everything that was great about R&B, funk, and soul in the late 60s and 70s without ripping it off. She passed away in 2016, and we've already done that year and missed the opportunity to talk about it when we covered the deaths. So when we did this show, I wasn't going to pass by another chance to tell the world about how great she really was.
No, this is my favorite song that you're putting on this week. This is an awesome song. And I unfortunately I remember this band being around, but I never really gave them the time of day. And oh man, I wish I could go back and listen to it back then because it's really awesome. This is a really good album.
And when you say being around, they were around Burlington when I was living there. I remember knowing that they were playing at Nectar's or Higher Ground or something along those lines. And I just never really thought about it because
me either.
Yeah. And I regret that.
Oh, big time regret it because this would have been a fun show.
Amazing. I can really understand why people really loved seeing them. So that's my number 2. Happy to have it. I hope people will continue listening to mine and Matt's other songs and then go listen.
Or at least come back.
Yes. All right. What is your number 2?
Well, we've already talked about George Ezra, but it's him in the song is Blame It On Me. He's got a great voice. You know, and all the songs on this album, I Want It On Voyage. It's an album worthy of your time. You know, unlike Jim, I'm glad there aren't more voices like this around because it wouldn't be as special.
I don't think there could be many other voices like George Ezra.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. Blame It On Me. I love this song.
Great choice. My number 3.
Number 3.
My number 3 is going to be a song by the band Ages and Ages, the Visionary, in parentheses, Do the Right Thing. This song was something I just discovered in pulling back and looking for new stuff in 2014, preparing for the show. And it instantly became my new theme song. In my daily struggles in life, at work, this song has really kind of helped me stay focused. Walking into work, that song you have to listen to kind of get yourself in the right mindset. If you do the right thing, you'll always feel better about everything you're doing. If you need a positive mantra in your life, just put this song on repeat because you will feel better about what you're doing, even if you feel like you're in a bad situation and you have to do the right thing. That's just what this song is. It's fun. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a good song. And I really think if you had found this in 2014, I think you would have liked it back then.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because it does have that positive message, but it's not speaking to you from a place of being down.
No, it speaks to my internal annoying optimism that I talked about at the start of the show.
No, it's that one of those songs that just recognizes you're doing a good job and tells you to keep it up.
Yeah.
It's that pat on the back. Good choice.
My number 3. So it's time for your number 3.
My number 3 will be Band of Skulls and Nightmares.
Great band.
Finally, I get to tell everyone how incredible Band of Skulls is. And I just did it, so I guess I'm done. I love 3-piece bands. Every song in my 5 this week has been on my phone or my iPod forever, pretty much ever since they came out. And Himalayan was, right up there with Arkell's as my favorite albums for 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmares, it's got just a simple guitar riff, but it's just great. I love their sound, the groove their songs have, and the way Russell and Emma's voices fit together. And one of the things I really love about Band of Skulls is by the time in their albums, when Emma sings songs lead, it's almost like you're listening to a different group.
Yeah, that is a cool part about it.
the albums really evolve within themselves. But Band of Skulls, Nightmares.
Yeah.
I love that song.
You've spoken about Band of Skulls to me for years, so I've known they were a really appreciated band, and this was on the list of the playlist you made for me. I loved it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a great song. So without even needing to go and listen to it today before the show, it's something that I enjoyed last week when you were putting stuff together for me. So
Cool.
number 3, good choice.
All right, what's your number 4?
My number 4, I don't really have much to say about it. Just digging around, I found this and I really liked it. It was just a fun, playful electronic song. Band is called Jungle. I think they might be DJs, not necessarily a band. And the song is called Busy Earnin'. It has the beats that we talked about earlier, but it's layered with a really kind of soulful song going alongside it. It's not going to blow anybody's mind, but when I'm thinking about what's going to represent 2014 and some of the best pop sounds of that year, for me, this is what I want people to go back and hear and listen to. And I liked it. So I'm happy to bring it to the playlist.
Oh no, this is a full-on band. Go watch some live clips of them doing this song.
Oh, really?
Like on
Okay.
like on KEXP or Glastonbury Festival.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a band doing it, and it's really cool. What you hear on the studio version, they're doing live, and they got the people out there doing it.
Okay, that's
Backup
great to hear.
singers, everything. Yeah, really cool.
Now I want to go see them. Then that's great. So there we go. What is your number 4?
Mine is Death from Above 1979 and Right on Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Jim needed to hear some loud guitars this week.
This worked. This worked.
Yeah. This is a dangerous song for me to drive to. I will go fast. So originally I had a Vance Joy song, and you were probably wondering, here he goes again, switching a song out. But I was driving to Newport yesterday to see my parents, and I had my phone on, and this song just popped on, and I had that, oh shit, yeah moment. And I'm like, nah, this needs to be on the playlist. It's just got those loud guitars that and driving beat that I just love, and I needed to have it on here.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm glad you added it. I'm glad you changed out that Van Joy song. Not that it's a bad song, but this was a joy to hear. It does not sound like it's from the era. I don't want to say punk because it's not the punk that you would hear in 2014, like old punk, like
it's kind of a more punky White Stripes.
Yeah,
because it is a 2-piece band.
It is, it's just hard-hitting rock.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. It was good. So great choice for number 4.
Cool. So what is your last one?
My last song. Oh, am I the same guy who came along and said, I don't like these high wispy voices singing and everything. I'm gonna pick the song by Hoser.
Drink the beer, Hoser.
How do you say his name?
Is it Hosier or Hosier?
Hosier. Well, it's Irish, so I don't think
Hosier.
Hosier.
Okay. Hosier. Let's go, Hosier. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick the song "Take Me to Church" by Hosier. I'm a hypocrite. I admit it. This is me. Look, on the surface, it'd be easy to say that the vocal in the song is everything I said earlier I don't like about the indie music going on in 2014. But Hosier projects. He lets it all out. It almost feels like a borderline gospel song, but the song isn't preachy. Spirituality is a metaphor of a deep love and almost obsession with someone. So yeah, it has that echo that we talked about and the high vocal that bothered me a bunch in 2014. But I'll forgive this song because when Hosier sings it, you can tell he's really feeling it.
Well, he's going to church. You want that echo.
Of course, you got that cathedral sound.
And it's not so much of being a hypocrite. It's you're always going to find something within a genre that you don't like, or within a soundscape that you don't like, that is going to appeal to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, it's a good song.
See, I'm still in 2014 and I found one, Matt. I told you.
Exactly. See, you're coming around.
All right. What's your last song?
My last one is Spoon and Do You.
Nice.
Yeah, Spoon may be that American band you've been looking for. They got a lot of albums to listen to. Do You, this was my song in the summer of 2014. Britt Daniels, I love his songwriting. I love his voice. He's got that, it's rasp, but it's not overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
When he digs in, it's there. It's Spoon, they're a great band.
Yeah. I actually listened to this album preparing for the show, and I almost brought a Spoon song to the show as well.
Ooh.
But when I saw you brought a Spoon song, I was quite happy for you to speak about them because I knew they're a band you liked. And I thought it was more appropriate for you to bring a band on that you've been listening to for a while than for me to be like, I like them too now. Here I am. And you're right. It is the American band I've been looking for. I was really happy to find it. And as soon as I started listening to that album, I got about 3 songs in and I was like, ooh, download. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back and listen to it. So great choice for number 5. Well, there we go. We got through
Awesome.
2014, no matter how I felt at the beginning of the show.
Jim is still alive. He's not
Yes.
crying, and he's not really drunk.
No, I'm not.
No.
No, I had to swallow the pill that Matt fed me during this show, and
Hey, you chose the year.
I did choose 2014.
Yeah, but you never know what you're getting into.
Well, but I should tell people that I only chose 2014 because you took us back to 1979 and said, I'm not taking us back into the 2000s.
I know. I kind of had to force your hand there.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't want to pick another 70s, but yeah.
and I picked this year blindly. I just looked at years we had done and what we hadn't and trying to put that separation in there. And that's why it popped up. So there we are, 2014, wrapped up and
Here
ready
we
to
are.
go. All right. So since I picked 2014, you know the point of the show. You get to pick the next year. It's in the bylaws.
It's in the bylaws. I get to choose. And unfortunately, I don't know how you're going to react to it when I say the year we're going to is 2004. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know, we'll burn through another 2000. There should be more going on than just indie for you to focus on and find something that you like.
I'm looking forward to this for one reason. When we originally talked about this, you probably told me 2004, but for some reason I was probably drunk. No, wait, no. But I was probably drunk, and I've spent the last week listening to music from 2003.
Oh.
So I'll be really well versed and ready when that rolls around, but I'll look forward to diving into 2004 because I feel when we go back to the early 2000s, I get a little closer to the stuff that I liked and, you know, what I was listening to coming out of the 90s.
Yeah.
And some of those bands are still hanging around making good music. So
yeah, and I think these later 2000s, you know, 2020 and the teens, they are going to be hit or miss for us just because it's easy to lose touch.
It is, absolutely.
With what's going on because you get hung up on what you want to listen to and things can just pass you by.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, well, that's the end of the show. It is been a pleasure. I think it's your turn to wrap it up.
It is. So we want to say goodbye to everyone from the Jam Yearbook.
Goodbye,
Thank you for
everyone.
tuning in. Goodbye. I am Matt.
And I am Jim. Peace, love, and podcast.